Okay, so I'll try to be as quick as possible because I know everybody's hungry and tired, including myself, actually. So just 2 words on what COFACE is. So it's the Confederation of Family Organizations. So we're a European network of about 50 national organizations that handle in some aspects, family policy and family issues. So just a few key figures to start with. 33% of parents use filtering software, and 27% of parents use monitoring software. So there's a lot of place to improve there, these kind of numbers, and still parents feel confident about their ability to support their children online. So just a little background, I have the Article 18 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which basically underlines the parent's responsibility in bringing up the child and for the development of the child in its best interest. So just to quickly sum up, there are a lot of resources that exist, be it tools, be it information, but in the end, it's the parents that decide whether they use it or not. And the role of parents can be very diverse, but mostly it can be focused on either setting up tools, so that's technical mediation, or discussing and having an interactive discussion with a child, which is active mediation. And I won't actually focus much on the role of parents, but focus more on how you can actually support parents so they can support the children, because enough has been said already on what the parents' role is. So just a quick word on technology and ICT. I think we already had somebody speaking about that. But just to start with an anecdote, in 2009 at the Consumer Summit, I had a discussion with some high-level company representatives of an ICT company. And I told them that the next big challenge would be smartphones for the internet. And they told me, well, you know, these devices, they're very expensive, you know, it's very, only for the techies, it's only for businessmen, it'll never end up in the children's hands. And, you know, look at where we are today. So, you know, what may not seem probable 3 years ago, today is a reality. So we will be connected 24/7, actually, unfortunately, because as data costs go down and these devices have larger batteries, you can enable data, will be enabled all the time, Wi-Fi will be enabled all the time, GPS as well, and the technology will become much more intrusive and interconnected. So when I mean intrusive is you'll get thousands of notifications all the time, be it from different applications, messages, whatnot. And if you look at the latest developments now with the Google Now, for instance, and the latest Android version, you will have, according to how you configure your device, you will have notifications all the time that are supposed to help you in your real life. So you'll say, you wake up in the morning, it'll say, it's going to rain this afternoon, don't forget your umbrella. Or there's a traffic jam, please take this route to go to work. Or it's noon, here's your favorite restaurants in the area, and you get a discount for liking them online. So that's what expects us in the future. And by interconnected, I mean that all the devices will be interconnected with each other. So the computer, to your tablet, to your phone, to your TV, and to your fridge even, maybe. You know, saying this cheese is probably out of date almost, you should probably eat it now. Anyways, and also with the cloud. So all your data will be stored online, and there will be computing power online available for use, so you can use applications that drain a lot of power from your portable devices. And devices, software interface, websites, all of this will be much more user-friendly, but not necessarily more age-appropriate, even if there are some exceptions. So if you look at the picture, this is how we picture basically a 2-year-old kid playing with a smartphone. I mean, these devices are not meant for children, especially not small children. And you have things on these that, you know, with one press of the button, they can access, you know, the applications of daddy and go to his favorite strip poker game. Or they can purchase, you know, with mommy's money, some applications, some in-app purchases, you know, whatever, all kinds of stuff. So they're just not meant for children. But there are some companies that will market, actually, devices meant for children, and I'll touch upon that later. So I'll go quickly with this slide, but basically, parents are faced with a lot of different things they have to handle when it comes to online. You have the device level, you have the service provider in some cases, not in all cases. You have the operating system, you have the applications, the software, and you have the content. And all of these, you have specific things like the GPS, the camera, how to use them. The service provider, you can have some limited features like no paying for SMS, like these reverse SMSs where you buy things online. The operating system, you have time control. The software, you have configuring your browser, you have parental controls, and on the content, you have, of course, setting up things like the Web 2.0 settings and privacy settings. So to each of these aspects, you have different skills and tools that help parents. So you have disabling your GPS, for instance, on your device, or limiting the time the child spends on the device, or installing parental control tools, configuring your web browser for a safe search, or adjust its privacy settings. All of these things, and it's a lot to handle for parents. Plus, they have to sort of discuss with their child both the risks and the opportunities on the internet and balance things out so that they don't get just this scary picture of the internet as a terrible place. So for all of this, parents need knowledge, time, and very often money. So as far as the knowledge, I mean, you have to have access to these efficient tools and comprehensive information. But the thing is, if you look at who's responsible for that, well, for the information part, everyone is. It's the public bodies like the Commission, the member states, you have the InSafe Network, you have NGOs, you have also companies, actually. The only thing is, when it comes to the actual tools, well, who's mostly responsible? It's the companies, the way they configure these. You know, NGOs cannot do much about the tools that are available, or very little. And regarding the time, actually, you have to have some reconciliation policy, so reconciling work and family life. And our organization is, for instance, campaigning to get the 2014 European year to be the year of reconciling work and family life. So if the parents are never home, they can never assist the children. It's as simple as that. So if you want more information about what the penguins mean and the campaign, I invite you to visit our website. So some basic recommendations. So this is to help even parents that are not very familiar with ICT. There are certain things that they can do to help with the child's experience online. So before going all technical, we should promote a healthy and balanced lifestyle. Now, this is something that's going to be touched upon in a workshop, so I don't need to say more, but just by encouraging a child to have a more diverse activities, do sports, arts, music, all this can help. And, of course, practice what you preach. That's for parents. Advice to them, actually, because you see many parents, it's just a funny intergenerational thing where grandparents scold their own children because they're all the time on their smartphones, texting during lunch or during the meals in front of their grandkids. So if parents don't set the right example, it's never really going to work. Then these are recommendations to make the lives of parents easier when it comes to mediation. You can really lobby for some easy fixes that address certain issues. For instance, to give you an example, there was a scandal not too long ago about an application called Path. It's a social networking application. Don't ask me what it does, but what it did do actually is to upload your address book online without your consent, to do some matching purposes, allegedly. So, you know, to match you with some friends so you can find friends more easily. But it did this without encrypting the data. It was open, you know, anybody could intercept these kind of things if they really wanted to. And you have some technology out there that encrypts your data when you send it, and it's open source. So you can actually, in your application, just set the fact that every time your address book is sent, it's encrypted beforehand, and the companies on their servers only handle 2 sets of encrypted information that they match, and they'd never handle your personal information directly, or your personal information is never stored on a server. So they have these tools are there, these solutions are there, but they're not implemented, and we should ask ourselves why or try to push for their implementation. Then, of course, we should make more use of what is already available. Now, you have good practices. For instance, you have companies that have decided to develop and design devices that are targeted to children and adapted to children. So this is, I think it's a Toys R Us product that is to come. It's called Tabeo. It's a tablet for children. It'll have embedded parental controls, access to only applications that are sort of designed for children. So all of these things are a step in the right direction. Now, by default, something that we need to look more at, but you have the do not track, for instance, Windows Live family settings, the way they're set up, GPS location features turned off. All of these, the by default, are also good practices. Then you have interoperable parental control tools. And as I've said, because all the devices will be interconnected to each other, you really, as a parent, don't ever have the time to configure individually each and every device your child is using. And so these solutions, and they already exist for some, I think some antivirus software companies provide a tool that you install an application on each device that the child uses, and you just configure it via an online interface. And it will work for all your devices. So this is where the future has to lead us, because technology will evolve in that direction. And of course, there's the information campaigns. Some of them are quite successful, actually. Here I've just put the Digital Parenting Initiative from Vodafone. Then you have, of course, the InSafe Network, the Commission. Everybody is raising awareness, but you have to have more cooperation between the actors, and you have to publicize some information that is really useful to parents. We'll hear also from the SIP Benchmark project funded by the EU Commission, which reviews parental control tools. And you can find, actually, that some free parental control tools are almost or nearly as good as, you know, some commercial ones that you have to pay 50 euros for per year. So this is interesting information for parents. But there's still progress. There's more things that need to be done. So you need to extend the by default sort of logic for the children. So each company, whenever they publish an application or software or anything, they use by default all the time. The only thing is they have in their back of their minds the optimal user experience. But that user is usually an adult, sometimes a teenager, but never a child, or very rarely a child. And when children begin to use these devices, applications, the user experience, the user, has to become a child as well, in what they consider as appropriate default settings for the best experience. Then you have to enhance user control. Now, coming back to the example of the PATH application, only after the scandal, the operating system put the option to block the sharing of your address book if you so wish to block it. Why wasn't it there beforehand? Do we have to wait for a scandal to have actual options and features in our devices to be able to you know, configure them so that your privacy settings are up to what you expect them to be? So if the option doesn't exist, it'll never be used. That's my point. So we have to have more user control over things. Information campaigns, that's very good, but there's some messages that work better than others. And I think there are a lot of researchers that show that very general messages like, don't post private information, don't really speak to people. They don't know what it means. What is private information? Well, so what if I post private information? So focus more on the practical examples. And it doesn't only have to be negative ones, but for instance, you could say, don't boast publicly about you going on vacation with your family for 3 weeks, because when you come home, you know, maybe you'll find your house empty because a thief has been by your house, stopped by. And these are actually things that really did happen. It's not a general thing, it doesn't happen all the time, but these are concrete examples that really help to get the picture of why not do something or why do something. Then we should also look to the future, because we've always stuck in the past, looking at things that are outdated. We were talking about Facebook and privacy settings. Well, at the time where privacy settings were the hot topic, we weren't at all addressing applications, and only now we're beginning to focus on applications. Maybe we need to look at the future and what it holds for us in the future. For instance, you know, augmented reality, as we've seen with John Carr's, you know, the glasses, that's also something that is going to be part of our future, and it implies a lot of questions that need to be addressed now and not later. Then you have to, of course, protect children from the commercial aspects of the internet, and these are going to be much more prevalent, as we've seen with John's presentation. There are going to be a lot of incentives also for actually actively seeking advertising, because you'll have reductions, discounts based on what you like, your preferences, and so forth, and you'll be rewarded for that. So children will actually, everybody wants to have a 50-cent reduction on their favorite product. The only thing is, you know, if you have to pay for it with your private information, is that acceptable for children? And that's a question we need to ask ourselves. And then you especially need to carry out more studies on ICT skills, because I'm tired of the whole discourse, digital natives versus digital migrants or immigrants. It doesn't really make that much sense to me anymore, because what does it mean? It doesn't mean, you know, you can use your device, you can open an application, or does it mean you can actually get rid of spam or you recognize a phishing attempt? Those are two very different set of skills, and I'm not sure that children know the second. They may probably know the first. So you really need to know if children really, in real life, know how to report things, if they know how to get rid of spam, if they know how to recognize spam, if they know how to solve a problem when they're installing an application or configure privacy settings, not just using the user-friendly interface that's been designed for them. So just a quick word on the role of family organizations. We're part of all this raising awareness throughout the EU. You can see 2 websites from our Belgian organizations sharing information campaigns from InSafe and so forth. And I'll just stop there saying that we'll work on this in the future, and yeah, thanks.